All right, it looks like we are live. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm Nicolle Block, your host today for Hints from HR. I'm joined as usual by the lovely Becca Ramati, VP for TAAEF. And then we definitely have Blaise Spitaleri, who works for Gemstar Construction out of Houston. You've seen our faces before. Hopefully you've watched all of our episodes. And maybe we're getting to be familiar faces for you every Wednesday. But again, we always want to introduce and welcome anybody that's new to our group, so you know who we are. We want to start off by saying that I think we all can agree that maybe we're a little weary of living through unprecedented times, whether it be COVID or now, if you're in Texas, snowvid. We just wanted to kind of open up the podcast by talking about, what's happened in the state of Texas over the past 7 to 10 days and what the next steps are going to look like. And then maybe kind of link it back to some of the things we've discussed during this series since December, because I know that, our talent and our team are very important. I know that we've talked about that, week in and week out. But I think with what happened over the past 7 to 10 days, I think it really illustrates and makes some of those connections for us that we've been kind of talking about all week. So I just wanted to kind of open up with that and just maybe give Blaise an opportunity to kind of talk through what his experience has been with snowvid, and Becca as well, and then we'll get rolling. So Blaise, how have you weathered the storm?
This has been an interesting week, to say the least, or last 10 days or so. First off, I did want to say that you are the Elsa to my Olaf. I was hoping that we were going to go with a Frozen reference to kind of maybe have a little comic relief for everything that
I'm not as good at that as you are, but yes, Olaf, I am your Elsa. Let's let it go. We got to just let it go these past 10 days. I would sing, but I'm no Idina Menzel, so.
Yeah, so first off, I do want to just say that I hope everybody's being safe and getting the resources that they need. I know a lot of people out there are struggling, being on the, supplier partner side and working with Gemstar Construction, any kind of GC or emergency response teams, plumbing teams. We've seen an unprecedented amount of phone calls and emergencies, and we're trying to respond as best as possible. And it's been tough out in the field. It's been stressful for everybody. From the residents to the on-site teams to the maintenance staff to the partners that are trying to help out as best as we can and show support. And a lot of us are even dealing with our own homes and our own challenges ourselves, and our on-site teams and our maintenance teams too. And they're just working tirelessly for the residents and for the communities, and then going home and also dealing with their own sets of issues. And to say the least, I think we need to really focus on mental health as well, and make sure we can take a break and get through this, talk to people, and work together. I myself have reached out to other supplier partners that I guess would be considered competitors in any other industry, but we're all friends, we all know each other, and our ultimate goal is to, we're driven by the customer satisfaction, really. We're that's what we're here. So we're just been working together, talking to each other, helping one another out, and then obviously to help out all the communities. So we've been taking water to properties, food to properties. I know we've sent over even some water trucks and porta potties and things of that nature, just to help out a lot of communities that don't have running water still. And if they do, they might not have hot water yet. And dealing with tremendous amount of issues of the inside floodings that occurred. So a lot of units down, offices down, clubhouses down. Then we had, the aftermath with all the fires that also could have took place. And there are a couple of communities that have really not been on the beneficial side of that we all need to rally around and work together. But that's what I love about our industry too, is everybody's so resilient and understanding, and everybody wants to work together for the greater good. So
well, and I think too, you hit on a good point. And I know we talked about it a lot in our culture episode, but when we're talking about kind of that work-life balance, harmony, whatever you want to call it, it's really poignant for us to remember that you can't fill anyone else's cup when yours is empty. And so when we have these situations where I think that as an industry, we try to approach things with a servant's mentality and a customer service approach, and we can pivot and we are resilient. But I think over time, you keep getting punched, and you keep getting punched, and you keep getting punched. And when something like this happens, it is catastrophic. You're getting punched by 12 different directions, up, down, all around. And then your foundation, your rock, your home, your family have been, now compromised. And so I think that, talking about that work-life, alignment, harmony, balance, whatever word you want to use, we're at the point now to where we need to just take a step back and hit the reset button, take 10 to 15 minutes just to take a mental break, because the work is still going to be there. This is going to take months and years, to really truly rectify in some cases, depending on the extent of the damage. And you're going to be much more impactful for your team and for your residents and for your family if you're able to kind of hit that reset button. It definitely easier said than done, but just remember that, we just went through something that was, again, catastrophic, and it was poignant and impactful, but it hit everybody. So it wasn't like you could lean on your general support system. Like if you're having a challenge, we all have people that we reach out to because they were just as strapped. And I think that was what, I know Becca and I were talking a little bit that sometimes people that had power almost had like a survivor's guilt, if you will, or like a power guilt, if you will, because you were powerless to help the people that didn't have power. I mean, you can invite them into your home, but that's just your neighborhood, And so you start to find other ways to help, like the examples you gave, with Gemstar, trying to get water or food. Some people are chopping up firewood and handing it out because that's the only commodity they had. They might not have power or water, but they've got wood, or food or whatever it might be. And I think some of the things, and Becca, I'd love for you to touch on this, that we've seen in our industry, really coming together is some of the chats and some of the Facebook groups and some of the help that we've seen from other areas. Can you share that, Becca, along with what you've experienced?
Yeah. Well, you read my mind, because I was just thinking there are two good resources just from yesterday and today. Yesterday, TAA's 1-at-1, talking about leading up to our conference, they talked about mental health issues following the storm and really following COVID. I mean, it's been a long year, y'all. So Absolutely. Check that out at TAA's Facebook page. And then also live right now, you can catch it on the replay, Expert Exchange on HAA's page and Houston Apartment Association's page is talking about, the winter storm and panel of experts who can help you with the damage and what's next and how do you fix those. I think sitting behind the computer, because I'm not on site, I was really inspired and amazed by people reaching out to help, people from outside of the state, who wanted to come and relieve their friends or relieve other people in the industry, or wanted to send water, give help, give just moral, words of encouragement, was really meaningful and speaks so much to this industry. And it's very unique in that. And it was really wonderful to see, and to especially off of something that's so negative and so heartbreaking.
Well, and time after time after time, we're getting knocked down. Again, I think, resiliency is definitely, whether you are a job seeker to this industry or you currently are supporting this industry as an operator or a supplier, resiliency is like top 3 as far as the qualities that you need to have to be in this industry. But everybody gets tired. Everybody gets tired, and I think that's kind of the challenge that we have. And one of the things I wanted to kind of kick back to, kind of going back to our last episode, when Jason Fine was talking about, how he tries to convey what to expect in an interview to someone who's maybe not familiar with this industry. They might be coming from somewhere totally different. How can you convey what, to expect? Now, granted, you don't want to say that these type of catastrophic events are going to happen all the time. But, when Blaise and Rebecca and I were talking, excuse me, Becca, not Rebecca, when we were talking, things are changing, in our environment. And, this just happened in Texas 10 years ago. But before that, it wasn't even in recent memory before that happened, and then you have hail season that's coming for Texas, and you've got the storms that are coming in August and September. Yeah. And let's talk about Houston. The 100-year flood is a term I heard growing up. Again, I would assume that happens once every 100 years. But how many 100-year floods have you had, Blaise, in the past 5 years?
Yeah, too many to count. And, that's a sign of, how our weather has been impacting our large cities here too, and how important it is to go back to have people on site that understand this and know when the going gets tough, you know, they got to be reliable and be there. I know we mentioned earlier, I wanted to just give him a shout out, Robert Hills from Camden. Now, I didn't get to see all the stories, Becca, but you said that I guess his property was going through something catastrophic, obviously. I think a lot of them were, but just wanted a Room to Grow Ambassador winner for 2021. If you want to share that story.
Sure. So Robert Hills with Camden, I think my dog's about to bark, I apologize. Robert with Camden was the winner of our Be the Next Room to Grow Ambassador video challenge. He's in Dallas at the Camden Victory Park Apartments, and someone captured on Facebook water flooding out of an apartment from a burst pipe over the balcony and onto the street. And, you know, that was everywhere. And I think they did a news story on it as well. And, you know, it's just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking for what, you know, and you know how hard these folks are working to try and fix things.
Well, let me take it from there, Becca. So her dog wants to contribute and show his support for our industry. And he's very passionate as well, being Becca's dog. So he's extremely passionate about Robert and the great job he's done.
Seeing the video, I think, and he just wanted to say, Robert, you know, thank you for all your hard work. And,
That's right.
and all of the maintenance men that are out there working day and night with
women.
little sleep.
That's right. Maintenance men and women. Come on, Blaise.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Thank you.
Absolutely. Who's testing us?
I apologize.
No, you're fine. But I think that that kind of brings it full circle, though. You know, our maintenance, you know, Room to Grow ambassador, you know, was really showing exactly why he was considered for that designation and that distinction. But so did everyone else. You know, all of the maintenance people, all of the office people, all of the corporate people, all of the suppliers. I mean, everyone wore every hat. You know, and we talked about in our virtual interviewing skills section that you need to ask questions to back into the characteristics that you're looking for. So if you're passionate about empowerment or growing and developing people or their decision making, you know, this was a time where you had to have the decision makers there, because when thousands of gallons a second are pouring out of a multitude of pipes, what do you do? Where do you go? How do you fix a situation with the least amount of damage? Damage is coming, right? But the least amount of damage, the least amount of impact to your resident, the least amount of impact to your business. And several people, you're going to do some after action reviews, I'm sure of this, because of course we're all still in the middle of the recovery. And hopefully some after action reviews take place and saying, hey, what can we do next time to better serve our associates and our residents? What can we do next time to ensure our building is more prepared, if you will? Yeah. Some things, it's just nature of the beast, right? I mean, you're going to drop down to 1 degree for 4 or 5 days in Texas. I get it. But does everyone know where the water shutoff valves are for every single building? Does everyone know about the fire suppression system and how it works? Yeah. Does everyone know to communicate about, you know, that, you know, some people that weren't in multifamily were saying, oh gosh, I just can't wait for it to thaw out. And everyone in multifamily is like, no, we haven't handled the stuff that's happened during the freeze, right? Because once things start to thaw, what happens, Blaise?
Yeah, it's only going to get worse from then on then.
Right, because that's when your leaks show. That's when all the busted pipes start to, you know, thaw. So, you know, so I think it's just a matter of, you know, taking a look, just like we talked about with the job descriptions, like we talked about with the maintenance tests, when we talked about with your interviewing approach and your culture as a company. Take a look at your emergency procedures and take a look at how you handle those and how you communicate that to where your teams feel that they're equipped. You know,
it's definitely going to change the approach that we have for our on-site teams to understand what to do in certain emergencies. And it was actually at a meeting I had yesterday morning at 7 a.m. I sat down and one of my sales team members came in, and he brought a book from one of the management companies that we were helping out. And in that book, it was a well-detailed what to do in any kind of situation, whether it was anything that's just happening in Texas, like nationwide, in hostage situations, in freezes, in hurricanes, tornadoes, everything, every kind of thing imaginable, they had a procedure list. And I was like, I wonder, and being not on the management side, I wonder if every management team has this, because I don't think they do. But if they don't, they really need to invest in this and that education into what to do in these procedures. I know a lot of people go through, your education courses for, getting certified, your CAM, your CAPS and all, and you go through those motions, I guess. But then when it happens, implementing a procedure and a plan of action right then and there, you don't have really a lot of time to waste.
Well, you nailed it. No, you absolutely nailed it, because, now, again, I'm doing this for a couple of decades now. And I would say that it's form over substance in a lot of cases. Like they may, they meaning corporate, or they meaning the property, might have a book that's somewhere that they made because of something like this. But is it part of the training curriculum? Is it part of the coaching? Again, do you have to memorize everything that happens in that book? No, but do you need to know where the book is? Do there need to be multiple copies? Does everyone on your team need to know where it is? Is it digital to where, you're now working from home? Now that you're thinking about it, do you have it available, or is it burning in the fire, right? Or is it, I'm sorry?
Is it up to date?
100%. Absolutely.
I think that's a lot like Charlotte Flores was talking about with the job description.
Yes.
Major pain. Nobody wants to take the time to look at it, but once you do, you're going to be so much more effective with who you're finding, because the description's up to date and it speaks to what the property needs rather than a job description. And so I think same thing with this kind of manual. Is it up to date? You have to take the time to make sure that it stays up to date, and it can't be something you just check off and you're done and you put it on the shelf.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's part of one of the challenges in our industry that we've talked about, as far as I know in the culture episode, is how do you maintain that culture? Because you have so much turnover, just naturally in our industry, whether it be promotions, which is great, or growth, which is fantastic, but we have so much turnover that does everyone know where that emergency procedures manual is, or to find it online? What if your computers are down? I know we're trying to go paperless in a lot of ways. Maybe this is something that's held on paper too, because if your computers are down, maybe you have it in both areas, of course, but yes, because of turnover, do they know where it is? Is it up to date? Again, we hear form over substance a lot, where we're doing it to check a box and it doesn't really serve the purpose it was intended to serve. And so it's just another question that I think as operators and suppliers, we should ask ourselves after we do something like this. And sometimes, unfortunately, hindsight's 20/20. But take that and do something with it, and that's what we're challenging you guys to do, is we're trying to find, talent, or to the job seeker, we're trying to show you what our industry is like. We're trying to be very transparent, in saying that we have emergencies too. We have challenges as well, as every industry does. But how are we trying to combat it to ensure that we have given you the tools that you need to be more successful? Because again, you already feel out of control. You can't control the weather. You can't control if you have water. You can't control if you have power. And so what can you control? And I think that's the steps that we're just seeing as so crucial for your mental health and your stability. Because people are, once you've lost, your motivation and you feel like everything is lost, then your attitude has changed and you're really not effective. We've all been there. Again, I'm not saying anything that we haven't, all experience.
To speak to that, Nicolle, too, communicate with everybody too. Communicate with your teams, communicate with your corporate, communicate with your supplier partners. Because if we don't know what you need to, we can't help you. So we really need to know, and you need to vocalize what you need in these times. And that speaks to company culture too. I think, how your organizations are handling this is going to speak volumes to, the type of product or just whatever you're putting out there in the world. Like it's going to trickle down. So I always talk about, going kind of feeding back into that mental health. It's, you kind of reflect, you're a mirror image of whatever kind of energy that you're putting out in the world. I always kind of use an example of, if you're walking down the street and you kind of say hi to somebody and walk by and they say hi back, it kind of makes you feel good. But if you do that and somebody kind of gives you maybe a snide look, and they're just, why are you saying hi to me? It kind of, you walk away like, wait, what did I just do? What just happened? Because you're just kind of reflecting that energy. You don't know what just happened. So
that's Blaise's story, moving from New York to Texas, right? So he's walking down the street in New York and no one says anything. Now he comes to Texas, like, why are all these people talking to me?
Exactly.
It was an adjustment. And I learned very quickly that
I've heard that a lot.
So yeah, it is super important though, because that's, the mental health, stay patient, stay calm. Sometimes you're not going to get all the answers that you want to hear, but you're going to get the truth, especially from your supplier partners. And I think that's, our industry is built that way, where, I don't think anybody out there, at least our trusted partners, they're not going to try to gouge you. They're not going to try to hurt you during these times. We sincerely want to help. And I know that we want to help because we value all of our relationships. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all a big family, and we're here to help. Just communicate and ask us for whatever you need, whoever it is. And if I can't get it, or this person can't get it, we know people that can get it, and we can make those calls to make that happen.
Well, we're all under deadlines. We're all under pressures. And I think the best way for me, seek first to understand the person across from you before you want to be understood. And we talk about kind of giving grace to get it. And I think it's kind of going back to those, just kind of resetting those approaches, because everyone's making the same call. Everyone has the same, all of the insurance companies want an estimate 3 days after this has happened, right? I mean, every insurance company that I've dealt with wants, and can you just give me a rough estimate?
So I'm glad you brought up estimates right now, because that's something that I'm trying to be 100% transparent and truthful with people. It was like, we're trying to handle emergencies very quickly. And what we're seeing also is when we're going onto sites, they might think it's just this one little isolated issue. And then, you take care of that, you turn water on, and you find out that's not an isolated issue. It's all over the place. And, so it's really hard to even give you any kind of estimate right now during the emergency services portion. Build backs will be a little bit different, but be patient with us. I've been telling people, like, most of the places that I've talked to, you're a couple of days out, even if not further. Materials have been so scarce as well. We've been overnighting materials from out of state.
Absolutely.
We've been reaching out to other supplier partners and distributors, and we're driving over state lines to pick up different kind of materials to take care of our communities that we service. So, and we're not the only ones doing it. It's everybody out there. So be patient with us. We're trying our best, and we're exhausting all of the avenues that we possibly can to make sure that it's not as stressful and as it can be, and we're going to get through it together.
Well, and I think that you're going back to the mental health piece. I know we've gone back to that a couple of times because it's just so crucial right now.
It needs to be a topic.
Yeah, there's our next topic, right, Becca? But I think that you really have to really focus on what you can control and what you can't. It doesn't mean that what you can't control doesn't have to be dealt with, right? We still have to problem solve for everything, but don't spend a whole lot of time on what you can't control. I mean, yes, there are steps and things you need to do, but when you constantly are analyzing, and why is this, and why is this, I'm never going to get, ahead of my day, and everybody's attacking me, and I'm tired too. When that starts to roll that way, you got to deprogram and start rolling it the other way, to where you change from a passive stance to an active stance, to where you can say, here are the phone calls I'm going to make today. Here's the follow-up I'm going to be able to get. Here are the people I still need to hear from, instead of no one's talking to me, and it's your mindset. We've talked about that is crucial. Even we talk about power poses. There's times when I strike that Wonder Woman power pose and I'm ready. And y'all think I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Not joking, right, Becca? But that your mindset is going to make this easier, or it will make it harder. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the beast, So we all have to get through this, and we as an industry are here to support. We are a fantastic industry, and we have seen some just harrowing things happen to us, but we've seen heroes and heroines that have stepped up and just beat it down. So keep that in mind. We're not through it yet.
Yeah.
But the recovery is where the miracles are. This is where we're going to start to claw out of this, but we have to turn around and make an active kind of approach with it.
And it's where we get stronger.
Oh, 100%, 100%. So but just think about that. I mean, I know we're coming close on time, but as we've been talking through all of these episodes and your hints from HR, a lot of it has to do with your attitude, whether it's hiring for the right attitude because you can train the skill set, if it's the attitude you bring, to culture, what aligns with your core values, Or is it, how you're conveying yourself in an interview? We've been able to draw parallels to how you present yourself to everything. And so if you choose to just take a deep breath and do what you can, and everything's still on the list again, but you have to prioritize and give yourself a little bit of grace, then you'll see everybody else kind of start to do that around you, because energy is contagious one way or the other. I mean, it can be negative. Someone comes in, that person in New York that's going like this to Blaise.
Those are usually the people that move from out of state to New York that think you have to act like that when you get there. I'm just saying, most New Yorkers I know, they're pretty nice people.
Right. I know we're giving them a bad rap. I'm gonna start getting some.
I do want to touch base though, because we're talking about the mental health, and the HAA is doing their expert exchange right now, and I know John Boriak, the president of HAA 2021, is on that. He put out a forward just a couple of weeks ago, and there was a couple of things that resonated, because he talked about mental health, and he talked about like just turning off. He said for like 15 minutes a day, he turns off his phone. He just goes out. He kind of recenters his, his energies and his focus. And I think that's something that it resonated with me. Actually, I forwarded it to a bunch of people outside of our industry too, because I just thought it was just a great letter. And we need to. It's not that we don't know, right? We know this stuff, but it's really important to hear it over and over again, because we forget to do it, because we don't take care of ourselves. Typically by nature, we want to go out and help everybody else. And because we're selfless people, and especially in this industry, I think we're selfless people, we forget about ourselves. But it's really important. Take that 15 minutes, shut off your phone, turn everything off. Don't let your brain start like telling you all the things that you should be doing right now, because I think that's how most of us work, is like, I could be doing this right now. I could be doing this right now.
But I think if you set boundaries, and that was one of the things, I know that during COVID in 2020, I had to really just stop and go, whoa, because I was working 24/7. And because I was working from home, there literally were no boundaries. I went from my bedroom to my office, and I went from my office to the kitchen every once in a while, right? And then I went back to my bedroom to go to bed, and I just have to set those boundaries. And so setting those boundaries, taking that 15 minutes, the term self-care is like now something that's in our vernacular all the time, because it should be, and I think that, we've gotten to a point to where it's like we're glorifying sleepless nights and all these people that work and burn the candle at both ends. And I think that we need to kind of, again, flip that script a little bit. And of course, yes, things have to be done and emergencies happen, but live by the rule, not by the exception. And kind of try to work your way through that to where you're preserving your mental health for the future. I mean, really, I know right now, again, we're all in a stressful time, but if you practice that self-care, if you practice those boundaries, if you practice, then you'll do that for your team. Because as leaders, if someone's emailing me at 3:00 in the morning, I'm like, ugh, do I have to respond at 3:00 in the morning? So it's just, we don't understand the ripple effect of our actions until sometimes it's too late. So I think that mental care, and it's funny, I liken it, I have a new driver as of tomorrow. My son will be 16, and I have an 18-year-old, and I try to tell him, like, look, the person that's speeding all around you, they're not going to get there that much faster. And so just take your time. If you ever watch that person in traffic that's like zip 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 zip, they're not going to get there that much faster. They're just wasting their energy, right? And so it's like if you unplug for 15 minutes, or you end your day at 6 for the most part, or whatever, and start the next day, you'll actually be more efficient, because you'll be more rested, and you'll set boundaries, and you're not going to, the work is always going to be waiting. I mean, what industry doesn't have work? Like, right. Oh, I did everything today, Becca, I'm done.
Congratulations. Hey, I really want to thank Nicolle and Blaise for taking the time every week to participate. And we do background work, and we do have conversations besides this one to get ready. So thank you both so much. Really means a lot. And I love this channel, what we're doing. I think we're bringing some great information to people. We would love to hear what kind of topics you would like to see us cover. I'd like to thank our past speakers so far, Matt Smith with the Liberty Group, Amanda Kyson with Graystar, Shelley Maxey with Olympus Property, Sarah Fox with BG Staffing, Charlotte Flores with BH Management, Iris Sanchez, and Jason Fine with Camden. Thank you all so much. Please send us your ideas. You can put them in the comments, or you can email taaef@taa.org. And thank you guys all so much. Have a great week. Rest up. Take care of yourselves and each other.
You got this.
Thank you to everybody on property who is doing just an amazing job. Thank you to all our supplier partners. We really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys. Be safe.